Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal rock and prog music. And this is New Music's Alive in 2025. I'm going to talk about 3 new albums that came out on March 14th, 2025. And I'll talk about them in my order of preference and give my quick first impressions on them. Starting with Tiktaalika and their album Gods of Pangea. This is the second album by Charlie Griffiths from the UK, from the great band Haken. It's kind of like a solo album. His first solo album he released under his name, but the second solo album he released under Tiktaalika. It's progressive thrash metal with groove metal influences. And this one's a near masterpiece. Definitely listen to it now. And I don't know why he didn't use his name like he did on his last album. He's going by Tiktaalika now, which was the title of his debut album, which was also a near masterpiece for me. I think I like his debut just a little bit better than the second album so far, though maybe it will grow on me. But yeah, I feel like I like the debut a bit better. But the title track of this second album, Gods of Pangea, I heard ahead of time. It's a great track. Awesome. Very thrash metal inspired. If you're a fan of Megadeth, I think you'll like this, but think about the sound of Megadeth, but add some progressive hints for fans of Haken and Between the Buried and Me. That's kind of what this album sounds like. In the title track, Gods of Pangea, there's also a nice melodic lead in the intro that kind of sounds like an Iron Maiden lead to me. And the rest of the album continues that sound, combining thrash metal with prog, traditional heavy metal with groove. Charlie got some great guest vocalists to work with him on this album, including some vocalists that I love, like Rhodey Walker of Protest the Hero on the track Fault Lines, and Tommy Giles Rogers from Between the Buried and Me on Lost Continent, which is probably my favorite track on the album currently, Lost Continent. But Charlie also features Daniel De Jong on 3 tracks on vocals and Vladimir Lalich on 2 tracks. I'm less familiar with their other work, but they also do a great job here. And the last track on Spotify is an instrumental bonus track that has some riffs that sound like Metallica riffs, but some other riffs that sound almost like power metal. If that sounds good to you, check out Gods of Pangea by Tiktaalika. Next, I want to mention the new album by Coheed and Cambria called Vaxis 3, The Father of Make Believe. This is the 11th album by this American band, and it's progressive rock with pop punk, post-hardcore, emo, alternative rock, hard rock, and even some metal and electronic influences in there. This one I'm putting in my excellent tier. I liked the first 2 albums in the Vaxis series, but they didn't quite reach the heights of previous Coheed and Cambria work, like the 2 Good Apollo albums or their 2 Afterman albums, or In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3, which are all near masterpieces to me. I think it's cool that this band has this kind of concept discography. They're like a concept band. I think maybe only one of their albums doesn't live in this kind of sci-fi world that they've made, and kind of follow certain characters in a story. I never really followed the story, but I just think it's cool, and I respect that the commitment that they gave to that concept. And like the sonic callbacks and everything are things that I appreciate. So I was hoping this new album could get back up to the level of the Good Apollo albums or the Afterman albums or In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3. And it doesn't quite get back up to that level though, but I do think this is the best of the 3 Vaxis albums, and it's still going to get my excellent tier rating. This album has some great variety, with one of their heaviest tracks, Blindside Sunny, which features some screams and which are unusual for Coheed and Cambria. They're mostly a clean vocal band, but it's not like a dark and heavy song with screaming. It is heavy, but it's in a fun kind of party way, like a happy hardcore meets power pop, meets glam metal. So if that sounds cool, check out the song Blindside Sunny. but it also has some of their softest tracks and some fairly straightforward, almost pop punk tracks, but also some more adventurous and progressive tracks. Corner My Confidence is a really great acoustic ballad. They seem to do those really well throughout their catalog. And I also love how they have those melodic themes that repeat from previous albums to give them that concept discography that they have going on. And yeah, my main critique of this album is it just sometimes I hear what sounds like auto tune pitch correction on the vocals. I feel like that's kind of unnecessary, and that Claudio could sound great if they just captured a good, solid, natural performance where he nails the pitches naturally. My other critique is I wish it focused a bit more on their prog style rather than their more accessible style. But the songwriting here is just so good. Performances are great. The range of emotions that the album made me feel was great. Like there are happy moments, moments that got me pumped up, sad moments, hopeful, contemplative, introspective, and even moments that left me kind of astonished and in awe and more. Lots of emotions while listening to this. Just a joy to listen to. Takes me on a roller coaster. So I'll forgive it a little bit of its auto-tune sins, even though I wish that wasn't there. I really enjoyed the Continuum 2, The Flood, which is among my favorite tracks currently, along with Corner My Confidence. If that sounds good to you, check out Vaxis 3, The Father of Make Believe by Coheed and Cambria. And lastly, I want to mention Steven Wilson and his album, The Overview, the 8th solo album by this amazing artist from the UK, progressive art rock, with a bit of pop, alternative, and electronic influences in there. Space rock, a little bit hard to describe exactly the sound. I'm going to put this one in my very good tier. Of course, Steven Wilson is the English musician who founded Porcupine Tree. He's been in many bands like Blackfield, No Man, and Storm Corrosion. And this album just features 2 long epic length tracks. The first is 23 minutes, the second is 18 minutes. I was very intrigued by the format because I like his more prog rock albums like The Raven That Refused to Sing and Hank Cannot Erase. I respect all of Steven's work, but those 2 to me are his masterpieces, and I was hoping he could release something that would rival those. And while this is very good, like all of Steven's work, it's not quite the return to peak that I was hoping for. I do like that the music on the overview is vast, it's expansive, it's epic. I think there was a bit too much spoken word on the album, and there was also a lengthy several-minute ambient synth outro on the last track that went on far longer than it needed to for me. I always kind of call out and not too big of a fan of what I consider pointless ambient noise. That's what I call it. Besides that, though, it's a pretty damn good album, but it's just missing that special something that made his first 4 solo albums so awesome before he kind of changed directions on To the Bone. I really like his first 4. And I like track 1, Objects Outlive Us, better than track 2, The Overview, on here currently, because the issues I have with the album are mainly with track 2. Track 1 has a great guitar solo, lots of cool parts. I'm thinking maybe this album will grow on me, but for now I'm just putting it in my very good tier. Still a great and enjoyable listen, but a bit of a disappointment from someone whose past work could be like album of the year contenders for me. But since I listen to around 400 new albums a year, I expect this one might not even, might only just be on the edge of making my top 150 or something, because there's just so much other excellent stuff out there that is worth everyone's attention and time. I know this one by Steven Wilson, The Overview, is maybe a bit more hyped and a bit of a bigger release in the prog circles. I honestly think that the other 2 I listened to, I had more of a fun time with. The other 2 I mentioned in this video, and there's lots of other releases that come out in a year that I'll be more excited by than The Overview by Steven Wilson. But the production here does sound amazing as usual for Steven. I think if you're if you're a fan of everything he does, especially if you like, I think this sounds most like the Harmony Codex, his last album that he put out. So if you really like that, I think you'll like this. Got a bit of Moments of the Future bites. There's some moments that call back to his earlier solo albums, and even some like Porcupine Tree vibes. But it's mostly like the closest album of his, I'd say, to this is the Harmony Codex, although it's kind of hard to say. It's a little bit of like a mix of everything that he's done, but it just doesn't quite stick the landing as much as I hoped it would. Still a very good album. The Overview by Steven Wilson. And that's it for my first impressions on these 3 albums that came out on March 14th, 2025. What do you think of these albums? Let me know down in the comments. Did I inspire you to check out any of these ones that you haven't heard? And if you do check them out, let me know if you like them. And let me know if anything else came out recently that you think I'll enjoy. I'm always looking for new music to listen to. And stay tuned for next time. What's coming out in a week's time? In about a week's time, I'll probably be putting out a video giving my first impressions on the new Sycophant EP called Red Sun. They're a great Norwegian progressive rock band. Big Big Train's releasing, they're having this Scop EP that's coming out with like they're relaunching their Bard album, which this EP is going to consist of 5 demos from that, so I'm interested in hearing that. ORK is releasing Fire Hose of Falsehoods. Imperial Triumphant's releasing Gold Star. Dissocia is releasing To Lift the Veil. Sometime in February is releasing Where Mountains Hide. Cradle of Filth is putting out The Screaming of the Valkyries, and Bloodywood is putting out New Delhi. So that's all like March 20, March 21. I'll be talking about all that stuff in probably about a week's time. So if you want to hear my first impressions of that, hit that subscribe button so you can stay in the loop on when I release new videos. And until next time, peace out.